Miss Ocasio for being such a wonderful mentor. While I expected to learn a lot of things in these past few months, every skill I have gained has brought me a lot further than I ever anticipated. Ms. Ocasio has encouraged me to roam outside my normal boundaries and to dig deeper into the English language. I'm also thankful for the Gilbert Chapel Society for making this opportunity possible. I hope to honor all the things that I've learned and the people who have helped me through my writing. The voice of Carl Sandburg. What lies therein, the sound of the body, the sound of hunger from dogs that block their throats, a scratch of ice that sings to its calving, a weeping plunged into the earth from the axe. What lies therein, the sound of a once solid ruin? Why was the circle of life created for mankind to vanquish? From man, by man, or for man? What whistles, clicks, and pulsed calls that vanquish the briny drink? The chip of a shell enshrouded in sea, the greeting of ocean to a more solid ocean, a sail swept by the wind. What wails and wails that come from the throat of one single body, the salty pulsing of a simple heart. What wails that come from the throat of the body. And this framework is whittled by hypsographic curves, the mountaineer that has no voice in the valleys that advance on hell, the rich man entitled to an audience, don't they know that man are one? And a man who loved these shivered curves, loved what had it out for him. John Muir had left to pursue it, yes, to find something else to renew it, yet, and I, the outlay, the due. What lies therein by sound of the body, the figure, the land, an ocean, a resolute a hand, a single throat of earth, the land that invented the different purpose, the whistle that brings on the dogs, the thousands. High tea in April. Leave my brush on the withered stump, and take this flurry from the ones we love. I cannot stay too long past lunch, for now I must go, free the April dove. Be brief with me on this day of trees covered with hunks of snow, and leave cinched the teeth of willows crying. Tell the man who never knew this dove that it's come my time to wish thee good luck, and see what this frost beneath my feet has become. It's been a good tea in winter and such, but now I must go, free the April dove. Waiting for tomorrow. If you wake up to see the sunrise, you'll get bored with it every day. But if you awaken to timetable this sunrise, you'll gain hours on your day. But people pass over the sun, for it makes them sad that the thing that should be promised is something that never has. Losing. If losing is misery by far, and we don't get the chance to win, how do we know who we are? If there are tables of liquor at bars when the drought begins, who's responsible for drowning our cars? If losing becomes losing afar, and we can't even pitch the win, how do we pick the batting kid's spar? If your win is piercing a star, when mine is revoking a sin, which one of us is charred? If your loss is my win by far, and your game and mine are twins, tell them I love who they are, and then go send my regards. Cafe date. A girl, a cold brew, though I thought I knew that I was older, but I'm so young with you. 2, a match in cold rooms, thought I could easily elude, but the rain grew colder, and its sunbalm was you. A girl, a cold brew. I'm a nuisance? Thought it was me, but it's not. It's been you. Crowded. I went to my favorite coffee shop today. The Virtuoso Cafe was so crowded. My mother and I were barely out our car when a teenage boy passed and shouted at us. Some words I take to heart, but I couldn't then because they were unintelligible. I guess they reflected the tongues of the people from which they came. I knew this, yet it was still bothersome to me, and I was glad when they drove off. But my, what a strange little boy. Often I wonder how some people find themselves when they're looking at life like a toy. Lost Kid touring. I did it. I saw it. I walked it. I scavenged through self-building college ground, and I knew it when I saw it and walked it. I fully accepted the sound of streets that come crashing in a circus, college kids roaming, free of a clue, and the clash is always point-focused on the things we're not supposed to do. I was a pre-college kid roaming, thinking I belonged on the highest shelf, when in fact, I was an off-track performer, pretending I knew or remembered myself. Fruitless work. High school work is not remembering which cashier is open or closed. It's forgetting if you count coins by monetary amount or the quantity, 5, 10, 25, 1. High school working means for your friend to show up and groaning when a stranger walks in. But it's funny because they're someone's friend too, just not yours. High school working is racking your brain over how putting buntlets into a brown paper bag prepares you for the real world. Isn't that what a job is supposed to do? I guess only some. But high school work is sometimes not a job, or at school at all. High school work is working up the courage to ask a girl, wanna dance? It's debating, is my friend, or is there something happening here that I don't want to admit? High school working is not remembering which crowd you belong to, or who you love, or what life is at all. High school work cannot make you find yourself, but it shows you the parts that are lost. Delirium. It was a restless fluorescence, wasn't it? Dreamt in the bitterness of night. I'd been recently thinking of curtains with reflections of operating lights. I dreamt that jarred fireflies were hotel guests of children running through the fields, where elephants heeded bumblebees, but slumber had quickly met yield. Not quite alluring our 10-hour appointments, booked with white cloth and garments, though I beamed while thinking of medical work, for while under, I saw DreamWorks instead. When it rains, it pours. When the rain pours, I start to imagine her face. I start to surrender my brain to her, brown curls, mocha hair, stubborn green eyes like grass in the reviving of spring, like unmixed cream floating in the blackness of coffee. Then I turn in spinning directions to gauge the echoes of her fading laughs, geared towards the lost, never found. And I start to tremble, jealous of the people she has now touched. I start to rekindle the shimmer in her eyes, or the smile that faded into olive, La Vie and rose cheeks. She always told me that was our song. Then I reach for the one thing that could ever make me want to look back, to run to wherever she resides. When the rain pours, I remind myself that she still exists. I try to gather all the possible ways to see her again. A good boy. When we first got him, he He was 2 years old, but he looked just like a puppy. When we first got him, he would yip and yak, but he was still a very good boy. The first time we bathed him, he tried to jump out of the tub, and his paws were so fast he just might have. And for the first few summers, he would run around our pool. We had to get him rubber boots so his paws wouldn't bleed. The last time he ran around that pool was when we got our second dog, and his joints were starting to rust like oilless tin. When we turned him over to brush him, the last time we gave him a bath, he didn't move or jolt like he used to. The last time I got his orange brush and ran it through his fur, he was asleep before I could do so. And after the click of the hairdryer, he had already started out, running in his dreams toward the promised land. The next day, when we took him into a room with dim lights, he looked at us without blinking. I tried to squeeze his lids together, but there was no point. So I started to hope he was dreaming. My dad touched Max's face, but he probably didn't hear my dad whisper, "Say hello to Hadabichi for me." It was over before I could breathe, and he was still just as much a good boy.